Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Define Disaster. This is Battlefield 4, and in today's video we're taking a close look at tank and tank loadouts with the aim of finding the most versatile and adaptive tank loadout in Battlefield 4. Up until this day, I've only ever really covered infantry-focused gameplay, infantry-focused topics, guns, grenades, you name it, anything to do with infantry warfare and Battlefield 4, that's what you've been finding on my channel up to now. And I thought it was about time we covered something related to vehicle warfare, because of course, air warfare, sea warfare, vehicle warfare, armored warfare is as much a part of Battlefield 4 as infantry warfare is. And so today we'll be covering the main selection options you have in a main battle tank and which selections I would make, which loadout, if you will, I would take for my main battle tank and I use in pretty much every single one of the clips you're seeing today when looking for the most versatile setup possible. When kitting out your tank, one of the first choices you're going to want to make is regarding your primary weapon, your primary shell. And you have three choices here: the armor penetrating round, that is AP shell, or the HE shell, high explosive shell, and last but not least the sabot shell. Now the first of the lot, the AP shell, has a medium bullet velocity or medium shell velocity, medium shell drop, which means it will have a certain curve to it, a medium amount of splash damage allowing you to do damage against infantry behind cover, and the highest amount possible of armor damage. This is tied with the sabot shell for highest armor damage. The HE shell, on the other hand, is geared more towards fighting infantry with the main tank, with more bullet drop, more shell drop than the AP shell, less damage on armor, however more splash damage allow you to more reliably kill infantry hiding behind cover with it. Last but not least, we have the sabot shell, what I like to call the sniper shell when it comes to tank. It has very low shell drop, very high shell velocity, and does very large amounts of damage against enemy armor. The same as the AP shell, they are tied for highest damage against armor from these main three shells. It does, however, have close to no splash damage, making it more difficult to actually kill infantry hiding behind cover with it. Now, my preferred choice here is actually the sabot because I find it very useful to be able to hit enemy armor targets at longer ranges that people with AP shells and HE shells find it very difficult to engage in. And this allows me usually to get a shot off on my enemy before he can even engage me at distances that he's not capable of engaging me. This allows me a large advantage over enemy armor, and the sabot shell also has the advantage of occasionally being able to snipe out a helicopter, as you saw in the intro clip for this video, which can be highly amusing from time to time and is more easily done with the sabot shell versus the AP or HE shell. When it comes to secondary weapon choices for your main battle tank, you have slightly more options and slightly more diverging tactics. You have the coaxial LMG, guided shell, coaxial HMG, the canister shell, and the staff shell to choose from. That is a total of 5 options, and they can be used very differently. Now, first, to my preference and what I think is best for kind of an all-rounder, well-rounded, very versatile tank loadout, you would have the coaxial HMG. Good against infantry, both close and long range. The key here being long range combat, because of course one of the most dangerous things other than air vehicles and enemy tanks to your tank is somebody using a javelin at a distance you cannot engage them with. Usually your main battle tank, your main shell is just too inaccurate to hit somebody head glitching on a rock out on Goldman Railway. Your LMG, coaxial LMG, isn't going to do enough damage or maybe not even hit your target. Well, the coaxial HMG does quite a bit of damage, has a decent muzzle velocity at just over 500 meters per second, and is able to take out somebody like that in just a few shots. Definitely my go-to weapon for allowing me to fight infantry as well. Now, if you were going for a just pure armor setup on your primary, on your tank driver loadout, and relying solely on your gunner to take care of infantry, that is if there's maybe not so much infantry to fight in close quarters, I can see you going for either the staff shell or the guided shell. However, in most cases for me, I don't find that to be kind of the situation, and you may not always have a gunner. Furthermore, I was going for the best, most suitable loadout for a variety of situations, and thus I need a loadout for my tank that will perform well in any situation, of course not making it possible for me to focus solely on armored targets. Now, next on our list, we have countermeasures. Now, there's a number of selections here once more with the IR smoke, smoke screen, fire extinguisher, and active protection. And in my opinion, we all know here active protection is just simply the best. It just has to be used sensibly when either in danger of getting critically hit and losing the maneuverability of your tank, or when facing a barrage of incoming missiles, incoming fire from an enemy aircraft, or incoming RPG barrage. The fire extinguisher can prove also very usable because it allows you to stop your mobility hit, which means you can once more start your moving around, kind of dodging projectiles. But given that mobility isn't as important as with tanks as it may be, for example, with an attack boat, where I see a lot of people using the fire extinguisher, for me the choice of preference here will definitely be the active protection. It's the most versatile and it allows you simply to take one more shot in battle. Well, when fighting enemy tanks, the fire extinguisher may allow you to stay mobile, but it will not stop them from putting that round into you that will critically disable you or finally get rid of you, whereas they can just take a simple round more given their active protection. Moving on then next to optics. Now, I don't think there's going to be much discussion here. There is really three choices you can use: zoom optics, IRMV optics, and thermal optics. Now, depending on not you have a gunner and how heavy kind of mines are in the game you're playing, you may want to go for an IRMV optic because this allows you to see enemy C4, enemy mines on the road. However, usually I've got a gunner that is running this perk and I just don't need it, or I just spot the road in front of me plenty enough. So I use the zoom optics to allow me to use the coaxial HMG and salvage shell at longer ranges. Both of these, of course, which are geared towards superior long-range combat, allow me, of course, to make my loadout more effective even once more at long range. So for me, it's the zoom optics. If, however, you're facing a lot of enemy mines and can't get into the habit of kind of spotting the ground, you may want to use an IRMV or thermal optic, allowing you to kind of see those in front of you by occasionally switching to that optic instead of a zoom. Now, last and not least, for the driver side of the selections, we have the upgrades, either maintenance, thermal camo, autoloader, and reactive armor. And frankly, the choice here is relatively simple. It's going to be reactive armor, reducing the increasing the amount of damage, I mean, of course, needed given to your tank to critically disable you, keeping you more mobile for a longer amount of time. Very important for using any kind of vehicle, of course. The autoloader, not really necessary, doesn't increase reload times enough so that you can really put out that much more damage. Maintenance and thermal camo, both nice things, but just can't match up to the simple reactive armor that just makes you mobile for a longer time, because especially in larger tank battles where multiple tanks are engaged, or when you have a repper, being critically disabled, that is no longer being able to move, is a death sentence, especially when fighting against aircraft, which of course are going to home in on your position and come down from above. Moving is critical in Battlefield 4 for armored warfare, and thus giving that up is not something I would be willing to do. Now, while equipping your main driver of your main battle tank with the best gear available is alright and good, a gunner, or a well-equipped gunner, is a godsend for any tank driver. Somebody you can communicate in, who can throw RPGs on your enemies, take care of close quarter infantry with a number of arrangements, spot mines, or rep you, makes your tank double if not triple as effective as it would be if you were driving it alone. And thus a good gunner loadout is as much of a good tank loadout as the main drivers. It's just as important, and as such we're going to be going over the few options you have there as well. When it comes to gunner optics, we touched on this before slightly a bit. I will go for the gunner zoom here because I am in the habit of spotting the road ahead of me, but some of my friends who usually run with me in tanks, they prefer the IRMV, allowing them to spot targets hiding, RPGs hiding, or enemy C4 or mines on the road. It's something I could recommend. It's equally skilled. It allows you kind of to interact, but I would not recommend both of you having an IRMV optic. You may want to kind of go one of you IRMV, the other one zoom, and in my recommendation I would stick with, if you're choosing one of them, the gunner, because he doesn't really need the zoom optics just as much, because his machine gun, which is actually a coaxial LMG, he doesn't really have a choice there, isn't quite as good at long range as your coaxial HMG, and thus he isn't as needed with his zoom. So in my case, I would go for a gunner IRNV or a gunner zoom, with a slight tendency to go with the RMV if you're fighting in more conquest maps where plenty of mines or C4 can be found. When it comes to the gunner upgrade, this is where I see a lot of people going wrong. Frankly, you have some attractive choices here with the gunner belt feeder, gunner proximity scan, gunner SOFLAM, and the incendiary. But frankly, in any game where infantry is a problem or is even existent, you're going to want to go for the incendiary. It allows you to take out targets close and medium range in buildings hiding behind cover. It's a godsend against somebody trying to peek you with an RPG, and makes you double as effective as gunner. In my opinion, there is no discussion here. Now, some of you may go, well, SOFLAM if you're working with other teammates, but then you need to find somebody somebody using a RPG that is kind of capable of using that, and yes, I guess then it would be useful, but in my opinion those situations are just simply too seldom, and we are going for the all-rounder, the best suited gunner or best suited tank loadout in general for all situations, and not a situationally well balanced tank loadout. The proximity scam, yes, useful, but frankly I'm not staring at my minimap 24/7, and if somebody's going to see for me, I don't think the proximity scan is going to save me. Simply well aware of your area, well aware of your enemies are, as well as constant movement is the only really way to stop getting C4'd in my opinion. And when it comes to kind of spotting mines, we've already had that. We do that with our IR and V scope. Now with all that being said, this is the way I run my tank. With a sabot shell, a coaxial HMG active protection, zoom optics, reactive armor for the main driver, and a gunner zoom or IR&V zoom for the gunner, and a gunner incendiary. That's how I like to run my tank. That's how I believe it's most effective in a variety of combat situations, and of course the all-rounder and most adaptive. That's the way I like to run it. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this loadout. Do you run your tank differently, and why? Do you have any suggestions regarding improving my own tank loadout? Do you have any more questions? I'm thinking of maybe doing a similar style video both for boats and LAVs, as well as maybe a little bit more of a tactic guide similar to what I did on sniper rifles, how to best use this loadout or your tank in general in Battlefield 4. So let me know regarding all those ideas, as well as your personal video ideas down below in the comments. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next Battlefield 4 video.